Venugopalan to talk about temples in the dance space, realigning cultural values. Smt Ramaa Venugopalan is an accomplished Bharatanatyam artist and a scholar. Ramaji has also studied temple architecture, Indian philosophy and allied subjects as a part of her master's program through Shastra University. Now I request Smt Ramaa Venugopalan to deliver her address.
Namaskaram, and I have the privilege of giving the final concluding topic today. And it's perhaps a continuation of what Sri Arvindji has just spoken to us for the past 30-35 minutes. At the outset, I'd like to thank Team Upward for including this very important aspect of dance and temple spaces in Kshetrayanam, and thank you so much. Just to break the reverie of the Kashi Corridor documentary, I will begin my talk today with a small excerpt of a Varnam that I had choreographed a few years back. The central piece of this Varnam is actually set in the temple precinct. It is a very it's a traditional number. In the Bharatanatyam repertoire, the Varnam is a central piece and a very important piece. And this choreography talks about the presiding deity of Chidambaram and has been composed by Guru Sri Dandayadapadi Pillai, who was one of the foremost composers belonging to the traditional community of dancers. So I will begin my presentation with this small excerpt. In this Varnam, the central character is a Nayika or a heroine who is besotted and in love with Lord Nataraja. So the prologue is that Nataraja has been on a procession and he catches a glimpse of this heroine, and in that glimpse they exchange a moment of union, and he promises to marry her, and he promises this in front of the entire city. And then the heroine goes on to say how she wishes he was there, and she says it is Vasantamritam Velai, it is spring, and the entire surrounding is alive with so much of color and so much of celebration. But my Lord Nataraja is not there with me. And she tells the Sakhi, can you please go fetch him? Do not delay. So I'll present this piece and then I will come back and hopefully make an effort to extend a point of view from the previous talk. Varnam. So the reason I wanted to present this excerpt is because dance enables the artist and the rasikas to be able to connect to a certain time frame. The presiding deity of Chidambaram, timeless. No one knows when he came to that abode. And composed by a traditional guru a few hundred years back, performed by a dancer today in 2022, and witnessed by all of us today. Dance aligns us to a different realm. The Kshetra, that is this body, that houses the talent of dance or music or art or painting, becomes a purpose to align to the Kshetra and the Kshetrajna who resides in that particular temple space, which is why dance was an integral part of all our temple spaces. If any of us walk into any temple today, the whole concept of art hits us on the face, the beautiful sculptures, the paintings and frescoes. One wonders why there is such abundance of art in our temple spaces. A few thousand years ago, the length and breadth of our Bharata was filled with this cultural alignment between the Kshetrajna and the Kshetra and the very many bodies of these Kshetras. Our alignment was with that deity. The purpose was to find that oneness with that deity through the medium of dance and music and art and poetry and sculpture and iconography. And for one dancer to be able to express their art, the dancer needed to have a good and a thorough understanding of all these allied arts. And when Rasikas, or the people who spent so much of time in the temple, were witness to these dances, or the music, or the poetry, or the sadhas that would happen, naturally, their alignment with the purpose and the concept of art was very seamless. 1,000 years back, as all the eminent speakers have told and have repeatedly reinforced today, our Bharata was rich. Every form of art was celebrated. And each one of us were a part of this celebration, because that is what we did all the time. There were no other distractions. We were all aligned, we were all in tune, and we were a community. Temple spaces were also economic centers. For one dancer to flourish, there had to be a musician, and for a musician to flourish, they had to have poets. And for a particular dance performance to come to the fore, you had to have the vadyas. Then you had to have people who create those vadyas. You had to have the textile industry that the dancer had to wear in terms of the costume. You had the jewelers who had to be in tune with the colors and the kind of materials available locally. And the entire dance space, or the temple space, was nothing but a seamless amalgamation of this guild of artists who all came together for that one purpose. And then history happened. As these celebrations were perhaps taken for granted, invasions happened, disenfranchisement happened, the alignment was disturbed, and perhaps it may not come back alive again, because we've gone far away from that central purpose of what any form of art form was meant to be, as Arvindji has very clearly explained in his speech. But what do we do today? Dance, music, they're all far away from the temple spaces. It happens in pockets. You have a Khajuraho festival, you have a Konark festival, You have a Hampi festival, and you have the Chennai Margari season, where for that 1 month, artists from all over the world come together like a herd, and then we don't know which artist to watch, we don't know whom to follow, and then suddenly after that month is over, everybody is gone, and it's emptiness again. So what prevents artists from going to the temples and just offering their art? The temples prevent them. Any artist cannot so easily walk into a temple and say, I will dance here every day. It's not allowed. I remember early this year when I was in the Tanjavur temple with my students, and we were finding a nook to go and just do our dance to Brihadishwara, because we are not allowed to dance in front of him in that particular Nritta Mandapa. And then there was an Oduvar who came, and he said, அங்க முன்னாடி எல்லாம் ஆடாதீங்க, கமர்ஷியலா பார்ப்பாங்க, அந்த கார்னர்ல போய் ஆடுங்க. He said, please don't go and dance in the forefront, because the administration will see it as a commercial activity. So please go to a corner and dance. So we went and found a nook and corner. We did our bit for the deity and we walked out. We go to Chidambaram, the abode of the cosmic dancer himself. We are not allowed to dance in front of that particular Garbhagriha. The Dikshitas will say, Inga adadinga, andha pakkam poi adunga. There is Nritta Mandapa. And if you do go and dance there, you're not supposed to use any form of recorded music, because it's looked at as a commercial way of, performance inside a temple. Chidambaram, and you cannot dance there, right? But this is what it is. The alignment is gone, the purpose is gone. But perhaps all is not that dull or that devoid of a solution, perhaps. So then what can we do? Why should these art forms go back into the temple spaces? What is the purpose? Are we as citizens, are we as people who are concerned about our dharma, about our art, our culture, our heritage, what can we do as perhaps rasikas or as performers or as artists? We have to find a way to realign ourselves. When I think about it as an artist, the solution is ripple effect. If one artist in one particular local area which houses a temple can just walk into the temple every day and spend, say, 10 minutes singing or 10 minutes dancing, or take a flute and play there for 10 minutes, or if a painter or a local artist there goes to that temple and creates a small artwork of that particular deity, something begins to resurrect, something begins to realign. When we take our children, when we go to holidays, when we just take them to temple pit stops and show them this, that, and say, once upon a time something like this was happening, they have no context. A lot of my students don't have a context of what it means to dance in a temple. They don't have a context of why there is a temple. They don't have a context of why we are even going to a temple. They don't understand, but we have to make them understand. So when dance, music, art, painting, poetry slowly finds its way back into the temple spaces, what we today have as a tourist fad, when given one long holiday, cities are migrating to the other cities to find resorts and beach resorts. And in between, if they happen to walk into some temple, and if there's a local artist there who comes every day to perform, then there is a possibility of a realignment. The children are able to see visually, this is what is happening with an artist. They perhaps get inspired. They perhaps find a connect. This is one of the reasons why I believe that dance, music, and all our art forms that are nothing but the timeless, evolving, and priceless possession of our Sanatana Dharma itself must come back into our temple spaces. Basavanna, a very renowned philosopher of Karnataka, says, Ullavaru Shivalaya Maduvaru. Those who possess a lot of wealth, they can build many Shiva temples. Nanena Maduve, Badavanaya. What can I do? I'm a poor person. Nanna Kale Kamba. My legs are the pillars. Dehave Degula. My entire body is the temple itself. Nanna Shira Hunna Kalasavaya. And my head is nothing but the golden Vimana of this shrine. Kudala Sangamadeva, O Shiva, Kelaya, please listen to me. Sthavara Kadimuntu. Those that remain still will perish. Jangama Kalivilla. And those that do not remain still will evolve. I think this is the very essence of Sanatana Dharma. This is the very essence why our art was part of that Sanatana Dharma. Our arts spoke about the perfect alignment of this Kshetra to that Kshetra and to that Kshetrayana. So what do? We reclaim these. We value it. We make it our own. So when we walk into a temple, I have a very lovely experience to share. So yesterday my friend and I had just gone to the Sarangapani temple. So as we walked in, we heard a lovely refrain. So there's this very young girl who's a student of music. So she'd come with her parents and she was going from one Sannidhi to the other in the Sarangapani temple. And every time she stopped at the Sannidhi, she sang a song and she moved along. I think that's all it takes. Just that one small effort for each of us to be able to go to those temple spaces, use our art and connect and realign to that particular purpose. Namaskar. See you on FB. We would like to Kritika, have seen you on FB. We would like to meet you
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So I have a question on the respects Devadasi, the word itself has now. As a dancer, you would know how corrupt it is right now. The thing is, I come from a family of artists, and my previous generations have learnt directly from the Dasis. My aunt used to learn from Mairapur Gauri Ammal. For those who don't know who Gauri Ammal is, she was the last living Devadasi of the Mairapur Kapaleshwara temple. So she was this old, frail lady who used to come to my grandparents' house and teach. So she had to do this because she was suddenly overnight thrown out of the Kapaleshwara temple, and she didn't have money for food. She used to teach a few artists, and my grandparents used to give her dakshina and then food. So it literally was, people at home knew that she was basically coming for food, and that's why she used to come and teach. The only problem she had when she felt very bad was she couldn't see her Lord anymore. Kapaliya paaka mudiyala. So that's the only sad point she had. So that was a period in the early 40s or 50s when the art was moving from the traditional holders to the rest of them. So there's obviously a change in the attitude itself, because what we do today, Devadasis were living, and their attitude towards even the content of what we do today as Varnams was different, because they were literally inside a temple. Their outlook towards the art was different. Unfortunately, other than the artists and the Rasika fraternity, who look upon Dasis as probably the best and who are holders of supreme art, the outside world still condemns. So what is it that we can do to, educate the outside world about their art and how they've probably given the best of art forms to us? Today, if the only thing I think of Dasi, the immediate thing comes to my mind is Veena Dhanamal. So probably for me, they're probably the best artists ever. But if you talk about a Dasi, somebody who probably doesn't follow dance will, only think of a very abusive word, unfortunately, in Tamil Nadu. So what do you think we can do as artists and even Rasikas to, remove this wrong notion and make people understand the true art form of how Dasi is carried over generations? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kritika. So again, when we talk about the Devadasis or the Rudra Ganikas. I mean, Devadasi is a very, I would say, a very colloquial and a very abused way of looking at these traditional artists. In essence, perhaps the definition of Devadasi is perhaps not very wrong if we keep away our perspective, because they were dasis to the god. Now again, when you say dasi, dasyam, one of the way of surrendering yourself to that deity, was perhaps their intention. So when they used their art form in the Garbhagriha as a part of the Shodashopachara, and when they dedicated their lives and their art towards that particular deity, it's very obvious that they are doing something far more than even we do as performers here or practitioners here. Now, what can we do to remove these misconceptions? To be fair, I think there has been a lot of work on that area. There have been several papers which is very easily available. And even traditional artists, for example, Aniruddha Knight, who belongs to the Veena family, has been doing phenomenal amount of work to bring out the work that Balama has done. And he's doing a wonderful job in preserving their tradition, and he's talking about it. So I think, like I think the very thread of this entire conference, awareness. Today, the information is freely available. We can use social media in a very positive way. We can follow artists who have that kind of an integrity. There is enough sufficient information for us to make ourselves aware of it. And also, I think as Rasikas ourselves, to be a little watchful of the kind of terms that we use, and not, what can I say, not force a perspective on our arts. We have to be open and develop a broader perspective to understand and absorb what art we are watching. Make a little bit of effort to look at the history behind it and not jump to judgments and conclusions. So I think as much as the responsibility lies with the artist performing, I think it's for all of us as co-performers, as peer performers, as rasikas, or as general people who are interested in our Sanatana Dharma and culture. I think the responsibility also lies with us. So I think it's a collaborative effort. Thank you.
I have a question. My name is Balachandar. I'm a vocalist. So when you said, when you would like to perform before the deity, they stop you because they consider this as a commercialization, and you get stopped there. So how about incidents like, we go to temples on a normal day with no rush. For example, one such incident happened with me at Mathurantakam temple. I went on a normal day because I wanted to see Rama, in a calm and peaceful manner. There was nobody there, only me and the deity and the Archaka, and he joined me in the middle. So, I was at my peace and happiness, and I started singing. I was stopped in between, and I was told that you cannot sing here. So how can we deal with it? When we say there is a bunch of people on, during a festival times, they might consider that as commercial purposes. But there was nobody, me and the deity. How can I face such situation? Because I literally could not say anything, and I did not want to, get into an argument with that priest or somebody, in the sanctum sanctorum. So how can I deal with it? Because I don't want to sing for money. I don't like to sing for something else. But I would like to sing for the deity, which pleases me, and it's form of connection I have with the deity. So how do we deal with such situations where there is no commercialization there is no video recording, no Instagram live, or nothing like that? But how can we deal with such situations?
I can say I understand your pain, and I go through the same thing too. Perhaps this is a question for Ramesh sir too. So I know you have a lot of questions, and I'm so happy I met you today because I represent the entire artist community and say, sir, can we have a law? Or can we? But I think. So sorry, sir. I'll wait for your answer.
It's complete.
No. After you, sir.
You said you were going to say something.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
We can wait.
There are two things. One is during puja times, we have to observe just piety and allow the pujas to go on. If permitted, we can sing appropriately. Sometimes in an ancient temple, like a Saiva temple, you can sing Tirumurai. But you cannot sing modern bhakti songs. You should not. That is also there. There are some conditions there. It's not like the Commissioner of HRMC allowing all and sundry to go atop the Kanaga Sabai in Chidambaram and say you can sing. They did it only to antagonize the Dikshitas. Because the Kanaga Sabai is a puja area where the 6 Kala pujas happen. Nobody except the Dikshitas can sing or chant Vedas. And they passed an order saying you can sing Tamil Tevaram, as if the Tevarams in Telugu or Oriya. Tamil Tevaram Padalam. So, in your case, in your example, you said there's nobody in the temple. And you were there and you started singing. I don't know why you should have been stopped. You could have said that this is a part of my worship. I can do it without disturbing others worshipping.
Exactly. Yeah.
They should have allowed you. You should have exercised your rights, is what I. But there is a thing like in a temple we have to keep it brief.
Yes.
We have to keep it appropriate. It is not like where we can sing at our place or at our relative's place or at our association or whatever. In a temple, you have to be very wary of what you can do, what you cannot do. But singing in praise of the Lord, an appropriate song, should have been allowed, is mine. Maybe you should have exercised your rights, but not get into a confrontation because we do not want to fight before the deities.
True. That is why I didn't involve in any
Well done.
arguments.
But you have the right.
But what happens in that case is, so when you said you would like to, daily, in your place of worship or, the local temples or whatever. See, when I am in my village, in Kattupalli, the local priests know me. So when the Sodasopachara happens, he calls me by my name and he asks me to sing. So we keep it brief to whatever extent he said and appropriate songs as well. So that is possible for me. But when I'm out of my area, the comfort zone, so it puts me in a place like I would like to keep my practices at my heart, at my place. So we will not be able to propagate more. That is what I'm trying to.
Yeah, I hear you. I think when I say we should bring it back, see, for example, dance was also a part of the Kshetrayanas. We had Kumbhartis by dancers. But again, that had a particular ritual. Only certain people could do it and you had to be dedicated. I can't go and do Kumbharti. Okay, so we have to be able to understand where our limitations are, what we can and what we cannot do. When I say it has to come back, I'm saying as a possible solution, if local artists can go to the temple and spend, say, 10 minutes just singing or dancing, I think that must be allowed. We are not asking for like a 3-hour kachari performance there, right? Right. Yeah, it's just like, just do something atmartham for the deity because that is also part of a way of worship. That's what our arts are meant for. So I think if slowly it begins to happen, then there is a possibility of all of us aligning together and the arts to come back together. Like for example, Arvindji spoke about the traditional communities, right? So one of the reasons why those communities perished, or even that particular sculpture that Rameshji showed, the patchy thing, that's because we don't have artisans today. If you had those traditional communities, if a person who is a sculptor, if he saw that, he will automatically go and set it right. You don't need a HRC to come and say, come, I'll pay you 100 rupees, do one blotch of painting on that, right? And if something is broken, you will have somebody from the Sthapati community or somebody who will come and set it right. Today, we don't have any of them because the disenfranchisement has happened. But if slowly, perhaps it is an idealistic scenario, but if we slowly bring these things back, perhaps the future generations might find it worthy enough to continue these practices. right? So I think that's the hope, and I think as artists we have to live in hope. We have to be able to say, no, this is possible, we will try somewhere. So I think please sing, and if they don't allow you to sing there, come out and sing outside. So at least in the open space, nobody can stop you.
That is what we started doing after. What I did after that is I kept it to myself. Whatever, if I want to sing, I sing in my
Not just go somewhere outside where the pujari is not seeing you and sing for the deity,
and
because
also,
that's what we should
and
do.
also, as from this generation, I started collaborating with local artists in
Wonderful.
Instagram lives. So we go on live where we do chitra kathas. So
Wonderful.
I sing somebody's sketches there. So we started doing Instagram lives, and we started finding a community of our own with like-minded people. So that is how at least we start collaborating
Yes,
that way. Yeah.
yes.
So
Build small, build the community back together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to leave a visual with this. This happened about 10 years ago. I was doing my master's under Dr. Padma Subramaniam. It was also the 1000th year of the commemoration of the Tanjavur Brihadishwara temple. So artists from all over the world got together and we danced at the Nandi Mandapam. So it's just a visual for us to perhaps think of how our art and culture was then and what it can perhaps be if they all come back and realign.
Divya Prabandham, and later Tamil composition by Acharyas. Is there something similar to that in Malayalam in Kerala temples?
We have Sopana Sangeetam, and mostly they sing Ashtapadi.
Is that
Kerala?
is that in Malayalam?
No, Ashtapadi in Sanskrit.
No, I am asking something in Malayalam, not in.
Yes, they do sing, but they are not much old as Tamil thing. And interestingly, I have one additional information. In Aryangavu, we have Sastavatu, which is actually famous in Tamil songs. That is written by one Manidasar, somewhere around some 250 years old. Like Arunagirinatha's song on Murugan, Manidasar has written around some 250-300 songs on Shasta, which is actually sung in Kerala as Sobhana Sangeetam at Aryangavu. For every Kala Puja, there is a person appointed for that. And for every Kala Puja, the Shasta part is sung in Aryangavu. And for all other temples, you have Sobhana Sangeetams, but in Malayalam or Ashtapadi are sung, but all those songs are somewhat comparatively new songs and not much old songs.
Thank you.
Traditionally, they sing only Ashtapadi.